until they get some money, and then they stop attacking them and so on. So you need a different system, a system based on openness, transparency, and a massive power for civil society. You also have asked about why did the West turn a blind eye? Because after all, the Egyptian government was doing their bidding. They're bidding in the area in every aspect, whether that to do with Israel, whether that to do with other Arab states. And as long as Egypt was creating that, between quotation, stability in the area, there was no reason to disturb the boat.
Indeed.
What really I hope they're starting to realize is the fact, actually, that by continuing oppressing the people, you have a total upheaval which is affecting the rest of the Arab world. Yeah. And democracy is not only about transparency, what really creates a real peace. Because if people debate the concepts and the different articles, then they will be able to accept one policy or another.
This certainly is an issue which warrants far more discussions, but I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks to our guests. Thank you very much for joining us. In Berlin, we have Arwa Hassan. In Dubai, Ibrahim Kayat. And in London, Hussam Abdullah. Thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We, of course, welcome your comments and suggestions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Goodbye for now.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.
All the news, all the time. aljazeera.net/English.
It's 36 to 38 degrees Celsius. No higher, no lower. It's soft, but not too soft. It's just enough to smooth things out. It's all of this, halfway to anywhere, with plenty of time to spare. The Qatar Airways Premium Terminal in Doha. 5-star service for first and business class passengers. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
A popular uprising that shook the country to its core. A defiant president under siege from his people. As the protesters took charge of the streets, we look back at the events that are changing Egypt.
I will stay on the air if I can until the police come
in a special program, Al Jazeera gives you a day-by-day account from those that witnessed them firsthand. Egypt burning, at this time on Al Jazeera.
This is Al Jazeera.
Welcome to the News Hour, live from Doha. I'm Rida Fakhri from Al Jazeera News Centers in Doha, London and Washington. These are the day's top stories. Al Jazeera has obtained new pictures of the most violent night of the demonstrations, with protesters on both sides of the divide suffering brutal attacks. Thousands of pro-democracy supporters hold a symbolic funeral for a journalist killed during the clashes. And it's official. Southern Sudan votes overwhelmingly to break away from the north.
I'm Rosalind Jordan in Washington, D.C. with news from the Americas and more on the vote in South Sudan, including ready to return. After fleeing war and poverty years ago, South Sudanese living here in the U.S. say they want to go back home.
I'm Barbara Sarah in London with the top stories from Europe, including
a process like this surely lets you understand who your friends are.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange thanks supporters as he fights extradition to Sweden on allegations of sexual abuse.
We begin this news hour with the ongoing events in Egypt. And now US President Barack Obama says progress is being made between the government and pro-democracy protesters. Thousands of protesters disagree with him, though. Many still on the streets of Cairo and other Egyptian cities calling for the end of Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. It is now day 14 of these unprecedented protests. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera has obtained new video of some of the most extreme violence last Wednesday. Andrew Simmons joins me now live from Cairo. Andrew, we knew there was violence on the streets of Cairo a few days ago, but this video shows it in graphic detail.
It most certainly does, Holly. We've verified the timings and the locations these pictures were taken in relate to last Wednesday night and Thursday morning, very early in the morning. And they came after all of the relentless attacks by the pro-Mubarak supporters against the anti-government demonstrators. So many killed in those attacks. I have to warn viewers, they'll find these pictures disturbing.
A crowd of anti-government protesters surrounding a pro-Mubarak supporters bus that had driven at speed into their number earlier. It's late last Wednesday night. They try to turn the vehicle over, ripping open the driver's door. There's no escape. Here, the driver's already been pulled out, and he's being lynched. From these pictures, it appears no one else was on the bus, but we can't verify that, and the fate of the driver is unknown. The frenzy of anger continues right through the night into the early hours of Thursday. Across the bridge, pro-Mubarak supporters on the move again, seemingly intent on more confrontation. But it all goes wrong. A mob of anti-government protesters swelling in numbers and showing no mercy. Each of the 9 men are attacked. Revenge for the earlier violence in which many of their numbers were killed. Hatred. While some of the men are led away, beaten as they go, another was singled out. It hasn't been possible to establish how many victims of this night lived or died. This was all filmed by a European cameraman. He says 14 minutes later, there was yet another dimension to the violence. Gunfire on the bridge aimed at anti-government protesters. A laser picks out individuals. This round finds its target. It can't be established at this stage who fired these shots, just as it isn't possible to identify victims or their attackers. The questions over last Wednesday night, Thursday morning, linger.
Andrew, do we know how many people have been killed so far? And is there any indication there will be an investigation into these killings?
Well, the United Nations a few days ago said that something like 300 people have been killed, but that number has escalated, it would seem, dramatically from there. All I could say on that is hundreds. On Wednesday and Thursday morning, the official figures from the government were put at 13, first of all, and then 15. Now, from eyewitness accounts, it's evident it was vastly larger than that. We have no idea, is the honest truth, of how many people were killed in the various incidents of Wednesday and Thursday.
Well, meanwhile, Andrew, the government seems to be playing on people's fears, talking time and again about the violence and the chaos that would ensue if President Mubarak were to step down. But it also appears to be playing on their emotions, appealing to people's sympathies, sense of forgiveness, to allow President Mubarak to carry out his full term. Is this strategy working with the people on the streets?
That's very hard to answer, but it has to be said that the US has made it quite clear now that it does want Mubarak to stay in place, even though as a figurehead, because it believes that chaos indeed would ensue. It also believes that the Constitution is the key issue, because it would be very hard to alter that in the present circumstances. So really you have this momentum now building with the government presenting a more pro-reform strategy, while the die-hard demonstrators who insist they will stay for as long as it takes in Tahrir Square and other locations over Egypt They have a massive resolve. So really, it really is a waiting game, and you'd be very, very brave to predict the outcome of this crisis, Gita.
Andrew Simmons in Cairo, thank you very much, Andrew. Well, despite all the volatility and uncertainty in Egypt, President Hosni Mubarak has held his first full meeting with his new-look cabinet. At the same time, people on the streets held a symbolic funeral for a journalist killed during the clashes. Al Jazeera's Alan Fisher has more.